A recent poll shows that 38% of Florida voters believe Ted Cruz could be the Zodiac Killer. Cruz seems rather unfazed by these allegations, maybe slightly due to another recent poll which showed voters felt being the Zodiac is only slightly worse than just being Ted Cruz. Despite the media's refusal to take this theory seriously, the American public has slowly caught wind of the mountain of evidence pointing to Cruz as being behind the still unsolved string of California murders during the late 60s and early 70s. Suspicion likely first sparked when people became aware of the striking resemblance between Cruz and the only facial composite of the Zodiac. What's more chilling is his resemblance to this man and the knowledge that only one of them is a blood-sucking murderer. The other is Grandpa Munster. While the hard evidence against Cruz is endless, this video focuses more on how he fits the psychological profile of a serial killer to a T. One notable psychiatrist generalized serial killers as being middle-aged, middle-class white men whose frustrations and hate stem from a lack of social and economic mobility. More simply put, they're Ted Cruz supporters. Birds of a feather really do flock together. Serial killers usually suffer from an extreme sense of paranoia due to the constant fear of being caught. Have you ever noticed that even when Cruz is smiling, he still looks worried? His face says, "Sure, officer, make yourself at home. Just please don't look under my floorboards." Another telltale sign of a serial killer is that they are master manipulators. In order to get what they want, they can assume any personality at the drop of a hat.
Smithers, release the hounds.
But Dad, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat animals.
But Lisa, animals are so delicious.
One cannot help but respect the amount of artistry needed for a Canadian-born Latino to successfully transform into an immigrant-hating white supremacist. Cruz recently said that he didn't have anything to do with the government shutdown. Many serial killers like Cruz suffer from some form of psychosis, which is defined as any mental disorder in which the individual's contact with reality becomes highly distorted. Cruz's psychosis can further be seen in his denial of global warming being man-made, as well as his unwavering belief that he's a good singer.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was blind, but now I see.
Cruz is among the many serial killers who are deeply sexually frustrated. Look no further than his obsession with regulating women's bodies and his infatuation with intervening in the love lives of consenting gay adults. A tweet from Cruz's freshman year college roommate may provide context to these frustrations. Ted would talk about the women he thought he had a shot with. Pretty sure he remained untouched by a woman those 4 years. Likewise, throughout Cruz's entire political career, he's remained unvoted for by a woman, except his mother, and she was probably acting out of fear of her serial killer son.
Not a day goes by that my mom is not lifting me up in prayer.
That's right.
For hours at a time.
This is because murderers like Cruz are usually feared by their family members, who can sense their inner rage and are sometimes victims of their abuse. It's no wonder that Cruz's own daughter wants him further from her face than most Americans want him from our nuclear weapons. If only domestic abuse was this easy to spot. The American public and the Cruz family alike have good reason to fear the bloodthirsty sociopath that is Ted Cruz. In the only of the Zodiac's encrypted messages to be decoded, he stated, "To kill something gives me the most thrilling experience. It is even better than getting your rocks off with a girl. One thing's for sure, Ted Cruz really needs to get laid." It's believed that the psychotic killer would find his victims in a phone book. Ironically, this is also an effective method to picking better presidential candidates than Ted Cruz. Needless to say, Cruz's failure to admit he's a Zodiac killer has frustrated many Americans. Maybe the Republican candidate should consider that a confession could be his last chance to beat controversial frontrunner Donald Trump. Ted Cruz, admit you're the Zodiac Killer. The American public has a right to know the truth.